Tonight on Localite with John Compton, Michelle Ruber sits down to discuss her work in designing and building a stunning home for her parents. With some of the best views of the Gorge any home has ever had, this place leaves you wishing it was yours. That's all right now on Localite.
So Michelle, thanks for coming on. I love this house that you did for your mom and dad.
Oh, thank you.
It's beautiful, and I want to talk all about that. But before we go there, I want to know, how did you get into this? Because this was sort of on purpose, but not quite. There's quite a story behind all of it. So let's start there. How did you get into this?
Well, the essence of design, I think I got into from a sustainability aspect, actually. I was at a tour of the landfill in Portland. And so,
tour of the landfill?
It's fascinating if you ever want to do it.
I didn't know you could.
Yeah. Well, it was with a program called Master Recyclers.
Okay.
So it's actually the transfer station. So you're at the transfer station, and then behind the transfer station is Forest Park. See these gorgeous trees and this pristine wilderness, and then you have like a total disgusting mess.
Yeah.
And at that time, I learned that 50% of Oregon's landfill waste comes from construction. And it was one of those aha moments where you're like, what can I do about that?
Really?
And so that's really what spurred on, let me find out who in town is doing what. And I really kind of went home from that tour thinking like, why is this 50% going in landfill? And kind of through the research I did, it was mainly two reasons. One was style, like, oh, the green shag carpet looked great in the 70s, but now it's not so hot. Or, the vinyl floor that you put down was only made to last 2 years, and that's its shelf life. So from there, I went around, and there was a store in town at the time called Environmental Building Supplies. And I really,
Portland?
Yeah, in Portland.
Uh-huh.
And I kind of stalked the owners. No joke. They even say, yeah, she stalked us. They'll tell you. And I begged them for a job. And they weren't hiring, and we went out, for an informational interview. And at the end of it, I was like, so do I have a job? And they were like, well, we're not hiring. I was like, no, I know. And sure enough, they gave me the job, and that kind of started the pursuit of my obsession and materials.
What was the job that you got?
Well, it was selling environmental building supplies, and really it's the finish. So it was like wool carpet and cork flooring and linoleum and countertops and paint. So it was putting all of these pallets together. Once the shell of the house was built, it was putting the interior materials together. So
was it the landfill experience that actually triggered this, or was this something you had a passion for a long time ago and you just sort of cultivated it over time?
Well, I don't know how far back you want to go, but
go back as far as you want to go.
Okay. When I was 3, no.
Yeah.
when I was from 16 to 19, I did a program called Amigos de las Americas, and it's a volunteer program. It's like the Peace Corps, but it's a shorter time period. And I lived in third world countries where it was totally sustainable living. No running water, no electricity, living in huts. And really then I realized, what's the essence of a home? What does it really mean? And that's where I got really involved with, just that whole idea that people were living in these mud huts with, no running water.
Yeah.
I mean, they cooked on the open stove, and they grew everything that they needed right there. And a bag of salt from far away was the bag that lasted the whole year.
And then they were happy, probably too, huh?
Yeah, I mean, it was a hard living, but it was, you couldn't compare it. I mean, they had no TVs. They had no, my life where I came from was, the juxtaposition was so great that you couldn't even talk about it. But that was probably where I started, really thinking about what does home mean and the essence of sustainability. And so that's where that passion started.
So that's kind of where you caught the bug.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. And then your husband worked with you on this project.
Yeah.
And you and your husband have an interesting story on how you guys met and some of the passions that you guys share. And he's from, is it Holland?
Yeah.
So you didn't meet in Holland though, did you?
No.
No. Bend.
Yeah.
Tell me about this.
Well, he's adorable, and he really is. And he was on a year-long cycling tour by himself through the U.S. And he he rode into Bend on a day that was supposed to be beautiful. It was in May. It was not beautiful. It was snowing. He rode into town and he went to a bike shop, and he asked the people at the bike shop, hey, you know, where could I stay? Is there a hostel in town? It's, you know, so nasty out. And of course, you know, the guy's like, you know what? Here's the combination to my house. Just go on over, stay there. So,
wow.
You know, incredible, like just gracious people. And a few days later, they were having a party at the bike shop. And my friends owned that shop. It was Pine Mountain Sports. It's still there. It's a great shop in Bend. And they called and they said, hey, remember we have that, you know, that that party tonight? And I was like, I'm ripping apart my bathroom. I can't come. And they're like, no, come. Sure enough, I came, drinking a glass of wine, and in walks Klaus. And I said to my girlfriend, hello, Electric Blue Eyes. I know.
Yeah.
And we ended up talking, and then from there, now we're married.
Now you're married. And business partners.
Yeah.
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 Well, we're going to be taking a break here in just a second, but before we do that, I just kind of want to sort of set up this house and how you found this property. And I understand that your dad actually was the one who purchased the property, and then sort of there's this whole story behind how you ended up getting involved in this, you and your husband. And so I want to talk about all those things when we come back from the break. So you guys stick with us. We'll be right back.
Up next,
He didn't even tell us, really, actually. We found out after he purchased
Really?
it. And the whole thing went like that. You know, he saw the land, was like, yep, this is it. Made the deal that afternoon. And I think like called us that night and said, guess what? And it was like, wow, all right, you're that sure.